Il est 7 heures, on va appeler.
It is 7 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order. Before we adopt the agenda, it's not the practice to add to the agenda, but a few things came in since the agenda was circulated. If you all agree, we will add to 8.3, letter from the Deputy Minister of Culture and Heritage. And at 10, committee reports 10.2 for the Villa Committee. They only had their meeting last night, so he did not have the time to put it on the agenda. And the in-camera sessions, contract negotiation from the rural internet. We had a special meeting on Monday in camera, so we would like to move that to 11.7 under new business to discuss it in public. If you all agree with those changes, we need a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary, no. Motion is carried. Any items on the agenda that could put you in a conflict of interest? If not, we will go on to 3, the presentation, 3.1. Claire in one evening, Claire dans un soir, Nathalie Robichaud. You have a PowerPoint? I prepared a small presentation just to have some visual aspects. From what I understand, you have the budget in your papers. So just to give you some background, Clare in one evening won in 2016 was because of the financing from Canada 150. It was a bit last minute. We knew what we wanted to do, but we didn't know what it would turn out to be. We put people together and we came out with this concept. It's a musical comedy. There are skits and music, and these are skits from Clare. And this was possible thanks to Canada 150. There were 4 shows that were completely sold out. We were not able to bring more because we had not booked the hall and the musicians had other engagements. So these are black and white images. I did not have color, but just to give you examples of things that came out. These are not only jokes, but it brings out the history of our region. And this was the arrival of Joseph and Marie Dugas, played by Norma and Marie. And then the second one was the history that had to do with the mills, the wooden mills for sawmills. And they had burned a mill by accident. The third was the history of the rum running, the speakeasy in Boston, and the liquor that was done here. On the fourth skit, it was the competition around La Béangeois dancers, to be part of it, and everybody was in that skit. And the last one was the call from the warden. But I just put a photo of the music because they went to get some traditional songs of our past, the old songs and new songs with Eric Surette and her blah blah. And they created the new content for this skit also. So if you don't mind, I went to get a 1-minute video to show you. Ashley trained me, but I will do my best. It's coming. So this is the skit of Eric Dow, who plays the role of Jean Melanson, when he tried to move the campus to Yarmouth, University campus. It doesn't last very long.
Hello, Yarmouth.
It's not working. Can you hear it?
Le collège, c'est Nick à dope, c'est un Nick à apprendre et tout. OK, là? Watch là. Essayez de prendre notre collège, puis allons serrer les bras. De la Sommone jusqu'au bas de la rivière, allons faire un tête à bord qui va s'entendre jusqu'à Boston. J'aimerais mieux de voir ce collège ici briller là-bas avec un flamethrower que de le voir à la Yarmouth. As-tu compris?
I'd rather see the campus burn down than not to go.
This is Norman Dion's Lobster Blocks.
Sorry there.
Oui. Oh, pardon.
I need to slide it back. As you can see, it is super funny, but there is also a lot of historical value from what is being said. This year was the 40th anniversary of the campus manifestations that almost went to Yarmouth, and the professors made some articles on this, and they used this skit in their articles. So it's nice to see that they still use it. It's not only at that time when we saw the skit. In 2017, in 2018, it is coming. I think I'm mixed up in my years. This is 2018, so Clare in Evening 2 last year, because of Clare 250, we right away knew that we wanted to redo a skit like that. And I think the municipal council came to see us to suggest, because you liked the idea. What we did was 7 shows, all sold out. We advertised for 5, and then we had 2 in our back pockets in case that it all sold out, and that's what happened. It was myself and Danielle Leblanc who produced this. It is like a co-production between the Acadian Society and the festival. Danielle has the technical expertise, and I have more expertise in finding funds, so that together it works well. So Clare in an Evening 2 was a big success. I have a few photos. So Clare in an Evening 2, I don't know if some of you were there. We went through the canoe trip with some excellent advertising from SIFA. There was the skit on cleaning lobsters, or picking lobsters, and they were caught in action. There was also at the left is the skit on being Evangeline and Gabrielle for the Acadian Festival. And also there was the skit of the CGA that would be more your generation, when it was really the CJA with the black hand. And then there were the clam diggers, and who also were nabbed by DFO. And the only photo that I have is the skit on the battle on the homogeneous schools. And I was nervous about that because it was a delicate subject for our community at the time. We thought of not doing it, and we rewrote the script. But finally, we decided to do it because it was an important event for our community. And some people did not have a good time with all that, but there was a line in the skit where Eric is the moderator. He says that for the French, and he was against the French, and he said that we are all here for our children, and maybe in 25 years the children will be entertaining you in French. So it was a full circle moment, and happily, because of the French school, we have young musicians who are doing their living by singing in French. So that was Clare in One Evening 3, and I am here to ask if together we could organize Clare in One Evening 3. It would be our last. It would be presented as a trilogy or a finale. If I have the gang, it's the same gang, the people, the boys from Sai and Monique Roussel. If they want to do something like that later on, it's their business, but as a community project, this would be our last. The budget, you have it in front here, but we will raise the prices to $20 instead of $15, and we will have 6 shows, and we might have 2 extra just in case. But we are looking for a revenue of $12,000 at the door. I also met with Acadian Affairs, and they can put $5,000. I don't have the letter to show it yet, but it could be pending from the Acadian Festival. But it has to be approved by the minister, and it has not been approved, but it is recommended. The Acadian Society, we will put $2,000 for the promotional kit, the posters, the advertising and all that. The Société Acadienne will do that, and the Acadian Festival will take care of the Technic for about $2,000. So it's a total of $21,000 roughly, and you will see that there is some missing after looking through the expenses. The rental of the Richelieu 2000, the lunch, and it's a big part of the evening because we want to create an ambiance with an intimate evening. We want the food to reflect what we eat in Clare. So on one table there is a smoked salmon and dried fish, and all this is given by Como Seafoods, or I hope it will be for a third time. But I still purchased some grapes and paper plates, and etc. for about $500. For the props, it would be about $500. We can reduce the cost because last year there were candies flying around, but we can cut that. And we do not want too expensive props, but sometimes you need to purchase things at Frenchie's. And I put the batteries for the mics because they all have wireless communication, so it could be about $200. The work for writing the script is about 3 months with the actors, Eric Normand, and they write it. So the honoraries for the artists, and that can be negotiated, but it can be $250 each. $450 each, and for the promotion, $2,300 for the tickets and the advertising, because the show is so popular that we might not need promo, but we will have to do some. The Technic is $3,000. We need to rent equipment. At the Richelieu, there is nothing, and then we have these services of sound effects. And the taping, I believe in the value of taping what we are doing for the future to share it on YouTube, but at least for our archives, so we can see it later on. So it is a budget of about $26,000. With the amount that has been committed, I am asking this evening for another $5,000 to complete the budget. Are there any questions? Any questions? Councillor DeVoe, thank you. It's not a question, it's a comment. The year that you did it, I went to see it, and it was really, really good. I had a sore belly for a week because I laughed so much, but this is like medicine. It's important to laugh, and it was really good to sit there and forget all the stress and just sit down and enjoy it and laugh. I support giving some money. I don't know how much we will see, but I would support giving something. It is very important. It is really good. Thank you. Any more questions? Councillor Thibault? Is this during the festival like last year? It is not during the festival. It was never. It's at the end of June, and the reason for that is the festival is already super packed, and the boys from side, the actors, are very busy also. So we work with their schedule, and during the festival, that's their busy time. They are touring in France and elsewhere, but it's starting to be the festive season in the summer, and we are sure that we will sell our places. This year we need to sell all the places. It was a bonus in the past because I had other financing, but this year I have to sell all the chairs to have the project succeed.
I just want to say I saw the last show, and it's, as Carl said, I laughed so much. Other questions? There's no doubt. I watched both. I was lucky enough to see both. And like they said, it's not, I don't laugh loud very often, but I was laughing. So that being said, when do you need to know the amount if the council is going to contribute? Well, the earliest the possible, the better. It's important to note that I don't need the money this fiscal year. I really need it next fiscal year, but I need to know sooner rather than later in the next month, because I need to give them the okay so that they can start writing the script. So if you had an answer, let's say in January, that would be early enough, because it's council's practice to take the requests and bring them to the committee council and discuss and bring them back. So if we don't have a meeting on January 2nd, we can bring it to the televised meeting on the 16th, if that's okay with you. It gives the council time to think and examine it before making a decision. Are there any questions, comments? Okay, well, thank you for coming, presenting before us tonight, and certainly continue the nice work. It's worth it. Next, we'll go to number 4, adoption of minutes. 4.1, November 21st, 2018, regular council meeting. Are there errors or omissions? Proposed by Danny, seconded by Councillor Leblanc. All in favor, indicate by saying yes. Contrary, motion carried. 4.2, December 5th, 2018, council and committee meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? Proposed by Councillor Pache, seconded by Councillor Thibault. All in favor, indicate by saying yes. Contrary, motion carried. 4.3, December 17th, special session of council. Errors or omissions? Proposed by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary, motion adopted. We'll go to 5, business arising from previous council meetings. 5.1, upcoming CRA changes to council honorariums. Stefan, would you like to talk on this? Yes, certainly. As you know, because it's been a few times that we talk about this at the council meeting. Presently, according to Revenue Canada, the money that you earn as councillors, what you earn, the tier is not taxable. It's been that way for a very long time. But as of January 1st, Revenue Canada changed its policy, and the full amount that you gain as councillor will be taxable. So the municipalities across the province are looking at how they want to manage this. So essentially there are two options. The first one is to status quo, which means that we keep your net salary at what it is now. But that would also mean that your net pay would be less, because 100% of your pay would be taxable. The second option, would be to increase your gross salary to maintain the same net pay. So those are the discussions that are happening in the municipalities across the province. At the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, there have been discussions at the fall conference at this subject. We looked around at the other municipalities to see what their council has decided. And up until now, we've received responses from about 29 out of the 52 municipalities in the province, so a little more than half. The tendency up to now seems to be to increase the gross salary to maintain the net pay. There are 3 municipalities at least that we know about that have decided to not increase the pay. So that's Annapolis, Guysborough, and Middleton. The other that have increased the pay, it becomes a question with when to go ahead with the increase. So in this fiscal year, which means as of January 1st, or in the new fiscal year in April. And that the tendency from what we seem to see is that the increase comes in effect January 1st. That aligns well with the revisions, the policy revisions from Canada. So all that being said, it's simply just myself and the staff. We're looking for a little bit of direction from the council to see how you want to deal with this. Do you want to maintain status quo, or do you want to go ahead with a pay increase? And if your decision is to go with a pay increase, we should know when. So that is to say January 1st or April 1st. So essentially the decision is just to leave as is and continue going on, and we take the taxes, or to increase to pay for the difference. So that's the council's decision. That's the decision that the council must make. I know you've discussed it at the council committee. There was not really a consensus, and you decided to add it tonight, from what I understand, for a decision. So if the case is that we are not doing anything, then there's nothing to do with status quo. But if there is a willingness to change and to increase, we need a motion from the council to do it. So I don't know what you guys want. Deputy Warden Doucet, I think that we should go with the majority of the municipalities. You said that 29 that are doing an increase. You're not increasing our salary. It's an increase to stay where we are. It's not a salary increase. So for me, I think we should do like the majority of the municipalities and increase the gross salary and start in January, just to maintain things as they are now. That's my choice. Someone else? Councillor Patier? It's not a decision that there's control on it. It's the federal government that made the decision for us. So I think that I follow Deputy Warden Doucet and say that an increase would be justified and to start in January. So maybe to facilitate the decision, essentially, you could do a motion. I know it's not gonna be unanimous, but we could put the motion on the table and continue the debate and vote and see what the council decides, and that'll be the decision. Sous-préfet, Deputy Warden Doucet, did you want to make the motion? I will do the motion. I'll do the motion that we do as the majority of the municipalities in Nova Scotia, and that we increase our salary, annual salary that we have now, so that our net salary would stay the same, starting January 1st. Someone seconds, Councillor Potier. So we have a motion on the floor. So I know from what I understand, it's not unanimous. Someone wants to speak, Councillor Camus? As much as the municipality has the means to pay this in their budget, a salary increase, I can't justify the need. It's an increase from 12.4% for the council members. The deputy warden, it's more, and the warden, it's even more. I can continue to work as a councillor without that increase, and I would like for it to stay status quo. I would like that it be noted in the meeting minutes. I appreciate the comments of the other councillors, but I think that it increases the budget, and maybe it's not a huge salary increase. It doesn't show the net income, but it increases the budget. And I'm not in favor of the salary increase. Thank you. Councillor Leblanc? I'm pretty much on the same page as Brian. I was always taught that you had to deserve a raise, and I think it's the concept that bothers me a little bit. According to me, we were dealt the wrong hands of cards from the government, and that's not, I think it's a strange way to absorb it. So I'm with Brian on this. Someone else? Councillor Thibault? I'm with Councillor Potier and Neil. I think that when the government does what we're obliged to do, then I'll say no, but until they do it, we're not going to, it's not right for the government to say what we can do and what we can't do. It's not a thing for me about money. It's that we weren't asked, we were told, and that's my point. Someone else? Councillor Hill? Councillor DeVoe, did you want to express yourself? Yes, thank you. Me too. To make it clear, it's not a raise that we're asking for. We were told that they were going to change how we were going to be paid. So I'm not in agreement that they just told us, and so I agree that we should increase so that we have the same amount starting in January. Thank you. And I'm with the warden, but I have to vote, and everyone expressed themselves, so I think it's my time to express myself too. If you look at the salary from the warden now, it's almost $31,000. Brian's point that Councillor Comeau, the increase for the warden himself would be, where did I say this? Is 14.5, which brings it to 35,500. So for me, that's too high for the warden. Because essentially what it's supposed to be, it's a part-time job. So if you take me and you look at the numbers for myself, some people work full-time and make that, so it would be hard to support the increase for me. But as I said, everyone has a right to express their opinion, and we'll take a vote, and the majority will take it. So if you want to debate a little bit more, that's okay. If you have some comments to add, I think it's appropriate. If not, if you're ready for the question, we can. Councillor Dusa? Yeah, question? Ready for the question? All in favor indicate by saying yes. So just to, just to clarify, because it'll be close, can you raise your hands? In favor, yes? Against? Okay, so the motion is passed, carried 5-3. Next, we'll go to 5.2, calls for applications. Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. Thank you. This is following a letter we received from the municipal on infrastructure program, or a section of the program. We knew that the federal and provincial were going to open the tender, so we didn't think it was going to be as soon. We thought it would be later in the spring. So what they did is that they contacted the municipalities and invited tenders for the green environmental section. So more specifically, it's for projects for potable water, sewage, or for waste diversion. So for the Clare municipality, the access to potable water is not a service we offer. We don't have any project right now for waste, essentially. So for us, for the council, it would be essentially for the water treatment programs.
On our 5-year plan for capital investments, we have no projects planned for this year. It's not to say that if the council can want to add that they cannot. The program that is proposed by Minister Porter is a program that will not remain open for long. They are opening the tender call to invite the municipalities to submit their requests starting December 3rd, but they will only accept them until January 18th, so maybe 6 weeks. And then the holidays are during that time also, so it limits the time that we have to prepare a request. So that being said, the program is very similar to the one that we had applied for and received finance for the Clean Water Waste Fund last year. For the questions that are requested of us, it seems to be filling in pretty good. But at the percentage of funding, the percentage from the federal and the province, I did not find it in the documentation, but if we look at the water fund, we see that it is quite identical. It was 50% federal, 25% provincial, and 25% municipal, so I think that it would be similar to that. Normally, the infrastructure programs would ask a contribution of 33% from the municipality, a third each, but the municipal contribution would be a minimum of 25% and a maximum of 33%, but I did not have any response from the province yet that indicates the percentage. So the question that we looked at earlier at the in-council meeting, in-committee meeting, if you have any projects that we want to go ahead with under this program, we need a decision shortly because we don't have much time to put the request together. So that's what it is. We want the direction of the council. As you know, these programs are coming out almost every year. And if it's not this year, there is still next year or the year after. But what do we want for this year with a deadline on January 18th? What is the desire of council? Councillor Doucette, I have citizens in my district who came to talk to me, a couple. They wrote a letter here, if you allow me to read it. that would fit that project. I think that if we have until January 18th, we have time to prepare the letter or the request. I don't know if any other councillors have projects that they would like to do also, but I will read the subject. It's the program for the branching on the sewer system of the municipality of Clare. They would like to put a sewer system in the Bellevos Cove Road. It says the owners of properties on the Bellevos Cove Branch Road are interested in participating in the government grant for branching to the Clare Municipal Sewer System, and they have heard about this project. The other paragraph, it says, let it be understood that this project would cover all the cost incurred to branch on the Clare system, including all the costs from the inside of the building and the materials and the digging and the manpower to execute all the works to complete to the sewer system of Clare. As we know, when we have a sewer system, it's not the municipality or this municipality or a program that pays for that. So if under any conditions, we would be obliged to contribute, but we want to be informed, and these are the residents of the Bellevos Cove Branch Road. There are 2 companies that are already there, and it is a possibility of a 3rd company between now and 3 years and 5 years. There are 3 companies: Crown Upholstery, Bayview Auto Parts, and a new business that is being built now to be finished in the spring. And there are the homes that are branching onto that too. So it is up to the companies on that road that would pay to connect to the system, the sewer system, if this project goes ahead. So this is on the table. The idea is, if we go forward with a project, if there are any other projects, we need to discuss it tonight. The council must understand also that if we go ahead, it puts one project above other projects. So sidewalks, for example, or the construction of the Acadian Villa. That's the decision of council. That's why I'm putting it on the table. So if there are projects you want to see, in this case it's a sewer system, but it touches a bit everything. There are some residents on the D'Entremont Road in Metegan River who talked about looking at the possibility. I don't know if we have enough time to put a request together to see if we would need to contact all the residents and the homes. I don't know if we have time between now and January 18th to do it, but there is still an interest in that area. Just for information, I should have mentioned it earlier in the introduction. In the documentation that the province has given us, they say that they plan to have a second round of funding for this program in the fall of 2019. So it is something to keep in consideration also. And if there are more than one project on the table, the province limits each municipality to submit only one project. So if we have more projects, we need to choose 2. Anybody else who wants to express themselves? The way I see it, and it's not a reflection on the projects, but we don't have much time. We did not have any public meetings to talk with the residents. We did not have any communications with the staff and CAO to evaluate what the cost would be. These are 2 projects that are worth exploring, but right now the answer should be no for January 18th, but explore it for the 2019 year. And the only reason is because we are not ready. We are not ready, and we are making decisions too quickly on big projects that are costing hundreds of thousands. I don't know what the others think about this. Councillor LeBlanc? So, Mr. Sear, you mentioned that there will be a second round. Would the amount of money still be the same as the first round? It is not clear in the documentation. They are saying that they plan to have a second offer or invitation in the fall of 2019, and they reserve the right to push that date again, depending on the first round and the interest that they receive here. To be clear, for the preparation of the tender call, the documentation was presented earlier tonight, but it's not too bad regarding the content of information that is required. But what is hard is the funding, because the cost can go up rather quickly. We need to have confidence in the cost that we are putting on paper, and it will request official motions from the council, and they cannot deal with the request if the council has not made a motion. So these are two items that need to be considered. Anybody else? Councillor Doucette? Deputy Warden Doucette? I agree with that. It's to find the costs and all that, but we would, if we don't make the request, I agree that if we don't have time to do it, but maybe we should start the ball rolling for the next stage. If there are possibilities for another motion, Councillor Poitier, if he contacted the residents and if the people on my side have done their work, we will have more precise information and then make two requests for projects. And we need a larger discussion regarding the capital priorities of the council. They are not saying it, but the projects are divided by counties. There is a certain amount of money which is divided, so if sidewalks is a priority and we do a sewer system, it's not the same program. One municipality cannot have 2 or 3, 4 projects and 3, 4 programs and then turn around for something else, but there is a lot of discussion to be had. To be clear, if somebody wants to make the motion to go forward for the 18th, but this is, I just wanted to make it clear. Councillor Poitier? It's like I said in my first comments, I don't think we have the time to put it together on the 18th, but I just want to make it clear that there is interest on that road, and I'm happy to push it to the spring or later. And I agree, I would like to see public meetings and the costs involve estimates, and then discuss it at the council level. It's hard to make a decision without knowing how much it will cost. If it's 500,000 or like Riverside, 600,000, that's where it was. And in Metagon River, it was over $1 million. So we would need to have a discussion with the inflation in front of us to discuss it in detail. I agree 100%. It's not a reflection on the projects. It's a question of time and to be able to do the work. And these are big projects before we make the decision. So if you all agree, we will let the time go and work on the projects for next year. Okay, we will go on to 6, the Warden Activity Report. I don't have a big report this month. On November 22nd, I attended a meeting with Colette Kaling, which is the development agent of the CDNA, to look at the draft of the Community Development Plan for Clare. On November 24th, I had a presentation at the Fireman's Banquet in Littlebrook. And on November 27th, I attended to a meeting here at the meeting with John Ferguson, the general manager of Annapolis, and others. And Stefan met them also to discuss the project of internet which brought us to the meeting, special meeting of last Monday with the council. These are only 3 items on my report. If you have any questions.
If not, we'll go to official statements from members of council. Are there presentations, official presentations? Councillor Thibault? Yes. Clare Municipality wishes to felicitate Tasha Deveau from Church Point, who brought in the bronze medal at the karate competition in Mexico. Tristan, we wish to support Tristan. She will go to the competitions at the nationals in Quebec, in Gatineau, Quebec, in January 2019. Excellent work, Tristan, and good luck. Thank you. Are there other presentations? Councillor Potier? I just wish to say that I had the chance to, on December 1st, to go to the meeting, the annual meeting and Christmas banquet for the Meteghan firefighters. It was a great evening. They had a nice dinner and they gave the medals. They're 5 and 10 years. 3 had medals of 50 years of volunteer firefighter. So that was exceptional. It's nice to see. Thank you. Very good. 50 years, that's a long time. Anyone else? If not, we'll go to number 8, correspondence, 8.1, a letter from Kellyanne Dean, Deputy Minister, Nova Scotia Department of Minister Affairs. So we received a copy of this letter. It was addressed to the mayors of Shelburne.
Municipal Affairs staff and from the Office of the Fire Marshal and the Emergency Management Office are participating in fire services discussions and are open to discussing various models in the context of the fire services review. Thank you for sharing the position of your council on fire service dispatch. If you would like to discuss further, please feel free to contact Fred Jeffers, Fire Marshal. Yours truly, Kellyanne Dean, Deputy Minister.
And this letter was sent to all the municipalities across the province. Questions or comments? Okay, next we'll go to 8.2, letter Yvon Comeau for the neighbors of Chemin de la Montagne Road. Members of the council municipality, the neighbors of Mountain Road accuse the reception of the letter from the municipal council, the letter from November 28th, that was as a follow-up from our letter that we addressed to the council from December 27, 2019. We acknowledge that that you sent a letter to the Commandant Sergeant Godin from the RCMP in Meteghan about the questionable activities on the Montagne Road. We hope that this will bring positive result and that the RCMP will take this in a very serious manner. So, as the matters of fires in the wood, while it is closed, we following the recommendations from Brian Comeau, we made our concerns to Gordon Wilson, the MLA. We wanted to make a position that the complaint was sent to 911. It took 2 hours before someone responded to this letter in the woods when the woods were closed. We judged that this is unacceptable and very dangerous. Once again, from the neighbors in the Mountain Road, thank you for the attention that you have brought to this matter. Yvon Comeau. Questions? Comments? If not, we'll go to 8.3, letter Tracy Two-Wheel, Deputy Minister of Communities, Culture and Heritage.
I'm writing you as a follow-up to our meeting of September 12, 2018 with my colleague, Deputy Kellyanne Dean, and members of our team regarding financial assistance to support increased French language services within the municipality of Clare. We have had an opportunity to review your financial proposal for 2018-2019 submitted to us on November 11th, as well as the projections for both 2019-20 and 2020-2021. Following an analysis by Municipal Affairs and the Office of Acadian Affairs and Francophonie, I am pleased to advise you that we will be in a position to approve an amount of $40,000 for 2018-2019 to support expenses related to costs incurred for French language services provided within the municipality of Clare. I would ask you to contact Mark Bannerman for additional information on the administrative procedures to access this funding. For the funding beyond the 2018-2019 fiscal year, we do not have confirmed budgets for 2019-20 and are unable to make any commitments at this point. However, I would recommend reaching out to the Office of Acadian Affairs and Francophonie early in the new fiscal year to commence discussions on potential funding avenues. I take this opportunity to thank you once again for meeting with us and look forward to continued dialogue in the important area of French language services. Sincerely, Tracy Tawil.
So if you remember, the report from Kenneth DeVoe and the representation from effective recommendations, there were recommendations that were specific to the municipality. So we went to Halifax, more or less, to try to present the case that because we're a municipality that offers its services in both languages, there are costs that other municipalities don't have. And it's not that we're trying to have money that the others don't have, it's that we want to be equal with the other ones. We don't want to be punished to have this to serve the community, the French community, so I think that's the start of negotiations. But I'll say that it's pretty positive because it's only to end this year. And I think the biggest part of the negotiations will take part in the future. I don't know if you want to add something. Just that since we received the letter at the beginning of the week, I spoke with Mark Bannerman on this and the Congrès Mondial to 2024, and specifically for this, and he was very happy to be able to help us. So I thanked him and his colleague from the Municipal Affairs. And for the upcoming fiscal year, 2019 to 2020, he seems very open to continue the dialogue as the warden suggested. So I think it's going to be very promising for the future. For me, it's important to get recognized by the province that the services that we offer in French are important because they attach money to this. It's a thing to say that we just support the fact that the province is ready to go into this, to try to pay these costs. It's an indication that they see value in this, in what we're trying to do, in what the Acadian community is doing, and how the council manages its affairs in French. So I see that as good news. I don't know if you have any questions or comments, Councillor DeVoe. Thank you. I just would like to say that it's encouraging to see that they take us seriously. It's really nice that they will help us in our things in both languages. Thank you. If there's no one else, we'll go to number 9, Chief Administrative Officer's report. My report this month will be a little shorter than usual, so we'll do a quick overview on a few projects that are still going on. For the cultural hub, just to say that the work on the sign, Luco has completed the work on the sign, so all we're waiting for right now is for a DP print for the panels that they'll finish. We think that will be done here in the next few days. So once that put up, that project will be finally finished. For the Grand Fondo, the registrations are now open as of November 30th. Up to now, we have 46 registrations already. Out of those 46, there's already 13 that are out of province, so that's really good. There will be a new promotional video coming out on the Grand Fondo coming in the next few days. So we'll see that on the social media. For the Centre des Anciens Combattants, there's the contract for the renovations have been awarded to Kevin Comeau Construction Limited. The renovations have not started yet, but Mr. Comeau has assured us that he thinks everything will be done by the end of February. So for the infrastructure, we're we're preparing finance requests for more work, major work in the building that we'll present in the new year. For the firefighters building in St. Bernard, the firefighters have moved into the new space, and they've started having a lot of interest for groups from groups to rent as a community space. So a group of seniors of the age that needed a space to meet up. So that's encouraging. For the project, there's still some bills. All the bills have come in. We had budgeted $834,000 for the project. So the actual project cost is $8,018,000. So we were actually a little lower by about $15,000. So that's good. For the old space in Bilbos Cove, the renovations indoors, it was to remove a few walls. That has been also done. And the Department of Public Works has started to bring some of our equipment there, especially the big tent, the trailer that goes with it, and equipment for snow removal during winter. So that's being done at this moment. So that's going forward well. For the Matagan River Sewer Extension, that project was finished for a while, but we were waiting for a few bills to come in. But now all the invoices have been received. The final documentation is being done. So that was a project with $1,300,200. So the total cost of the project was $1,301,256. So we were a little over budget by about $1,000. And that was intentional on our part because there was money left on the table. $1 million isn't a nod on a $1 million project, but we're going to leave it there. And we knew that we would need to buy a manhole to install the outfall pump in Matagan in the spring. So if we just did it now under the project, we would have access to that money, but it would put us $1,000 over budget. But if we didn't do it, then in the spring we needed to buy the manhole ourselves and pay 100% of the cost. So it was in our best interest to do it now. So all that being said, this project is now finished. So for the internet, rural internet, and the CML 2024, I'll talk about it later on the agenda tonight at 11.7 and 11.6, respectively. For finances on November 30th, 2018, the municipality had about $8,600,000 in revenues and expenses of $6,619,000. For a net revenue of $2,900,000 roughly. As of November 30th, the municipality had a balance of $2,468,391 in its operational fund, $5,992 in its capital fund, and a total balance of $3,800,000 $800,000 in reserve. So that 3.8 million can be divided into the following way. In the operational reserve, we have $445,257. In the reserve for capital projects, $2,372,296. And for the landfill closure reserve, that one stays pretty fixed, just the interest that accumulates. There are currently $322,228. And finally, for the gas tax reserve, $661,216, and that includes that doesn't include the contribution for the fiscal year. So if you look at the actual fiscal year, we'll receive two payments of $293,000 each, approximately $193,000 each, for a total of $386,000 and change. The first payment will come in and did come in December, and the second will come into the new year. So all that to say that financially we're in good position. Internally, just a few small items. The tender, the RFP for the purchase and use of Saint Albert School was launched with a closing date of January 31st, 2019. For the subdivision bylaw, the subdivision committee is always meeting and plans to meet at the beginning of January with the intention to present a draft of the bylaw for a first reading at the council meeting in January, if possible. We also put out a tender for a study on the volunteer fire service vehicle assessment, and we wanted an assessment of the trucks, firefighter trucks for the different departments in the municipality. So we did send a series of questions to each of the departments to start the process and to help the consultants in their work. Up until now, we received responses from 4 out of the 8 firefighter departments. So we will try to get the information from the 4 other ones. The deadline the consultants will come beginning of January. If they have all the information that they need to meet with myself and all of the fire chief individually, and possibly with the executive of the Clare Firefighters Association, in the hope that we have all that evaluation done on February 15th, 2019. And finally, if you remember, we had received money from the province. It was a partnership between us and the province to do a promotional video for Clare municipality. We're currently into the second draft of this video. Larry saw it and he said that the quality is excellent. He's very satisfied by it. We hope to have the final version by in January, and from there we'll be able to present it to you and to do it to launch it in the public also. So that's my report. That's for December.
Any questions? Councillor Camon? When will the funding be available for the Hall of Veterans Hall? I'm sorry, for the bigger project? We are waiting for the province to announce the opening of the program and the correspondence we had received. And this is correspondence that dates from last spring. They said that they would only accept tenders by the 1st of April 2019. They didn't expect to have the environmental aspect of it but for December 3rd. So our intention is to pick up as much information as we can to put a request together to present to you, so that once the opening of the program takes place, if it is still the desire of the council, that we would go forward. Any more questions? Councillor DeVoe? Did you mention the final cost for the fire hall in St. Bernard? What is it again? We had budgeted $834,018, and the final cost was $818,785.96. So we saved $15,022. So we are quite sure that all the bills came in. The company Delmar that built the renovations, we are quite sure that all the bills came in. And all the items that we had on our list from outside the contract with Delmar has been purchased and paid. So we are sure that there is nothing else. Or we are quite certain that there are no other bills to come in. So if yes, they would be quite minor. So we are in a good position with that project. Any more questions? For the promotional video, will it be ready for presentation to the council on the televised meeting in January? I am not certain because it's a private company that's doing it and Larry is in contact with them. It will be in consultation with the province also. I did not get much details from the company, and Larry neither. But we were told in January. I don't know if it will be the 1st of January or the end of January. Thank you. If there are no more questions, the committee reports. 10.1, the construction permits. Councillor Hill.
For $556,000 of construction. In November of 2018, there was 14 permits for $289,000 of construction. And the year to date for November of 2017, we were just over 11 million, and for 2018, we're just over 10 million. So $10 million of construction, another month left, another good year. So.
As-tu des questions?
Any questions? If not, we will go on to 10.2, the Villa report. Councillor Comeau. Yesterday, the Board of Directors of the Acadian Villa met to discuss the next steps for the replacement of the Villa Acadienne, and we decided to send a memo to all the staff to give an update, and I will read the memo to explain where we are. The members of the Board of Directors of the Acadian Villa want to bring you an update on the planification phase for the new replacement facility. Even if we are waiting for the final approval from the province, the planning stages is continuing. The planning phase is going forward. The Department of Health and Welfare has given the approval that the villa continue with the conception schematic plan, and that will include the size of the rooms, the details on the site, the property, the cost, the total cost of the project, and things like that. But it's not the plan that would be advertised for construction. It will not be the final plan. The department has also requested that the design phase be based on a 96-bed facility. Today we have 86 beds, so this would be an increase of 10 beds. It's a big advantage to the community because there is always a waiting list for the residents. This work will incorporate the standards of the Department of Health and Wellness for long-term care. The villa has contracted the services of William Nycombe and Associates, an architect in Halifax, to prepare the schematic design. This same firm has been hired to prepare the business plan as the first phase of the planning goes forward. So the business plan was already prepared by the same company. The schematic design phase will provide a reliable capital cost estimate for moving forward with the final request for government approval. It has not been approved for the complete project, but we have been approved for a schematic plan. And then it mentions that the villa is continuing with the process of choosing a site and will negotiate the acquiring the site that will accommodate the villa in the future. And we hope that in the new year it will be chosen and the property could be bought as a future site for the villa. That's where we are now. And as soon as we have other news, I will make another report to council. But I want to mention also that we have a new member at the Board of Directors, Yvon Leblanc, who replaces our warden, Ronnie Leblanc. These are good news. It means that it is going in the good direction. Are any questions for Councillor Comeau? So in the new year, we will see movement on that. The public will be happy to see that. I was on the board of directors of the villa, and I know how the board, the council works hard, and they will continue the good work. They have a good new member with Councillor LeBlanc, and I am happy to see that it is going forward. We will go on to item 11.1, motion to approve the Operation Compassion funding request. I can talk about it briefly. During the last meeting of the Committee of Council, we were approached by the group Compassion Operation to help with the costs associated to bringing in a refugee family here in the municipality. Essentially, these were costs associated to the lodging of this family. There was a family identified of 4 people, 2 parents and 2 children. The request to council was for $1,450. The Operation Compassion Group would contribute $200 to cover the difference for the rental for the family. So the council made a request to approve the request for $1,450, and this is just to make a formal motion. Councillor Thibault? I move that the council for the municipality of the District of Clare award a grant in the amount of $1,450 to Operation Compassion to assist a refugee family moving to Clare. Seconded by Councillor Hill. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary, no. Motion is carried. We will go on to 11.2, motion to approve a hospitality policy document. You have it in your package. You have discussed it at the committee and council meeting. Do you want to discuss it? Are you ready to make the motion to adopt it this evening? I read it. There is only one item that jumped. It's when they talk about signing authority. In different cases, it's the chair or the vice chair of the audit committee. I found that different, that the chair would have the authority to authorize expenses on hospitality separate from the council of the warden or the deputy warden. I don't know if you saw this. We have an audit committee, but if that is the case, the committee must be more active and that they meet a lot more often, I would say. Do you have any points in the policy that you want to discuss? If you have comments on that point also. Councillor Camo, the policy itself appears good. If there are concerns, I had concerns with the signing authority position also, but it is the only thing that I would see that needs to be changed or adjusted. I have no problem with the policy. It was well written, and I agree with the rest. Anybody else? So on the signing authority point, if you are comfortable with that the chair or vice chair of the audit committee becomes signatories, because this will have an impact on you directly. It will make chairs of those committees rather active, and they would have to meet more often. But when there are requests, do they report to the audit committee, or do they just make the decision himself while the warden and deputy warden will need to answer to the council? But if the audit committee meets every time there's an activity, it has to be approved. It's a good point. I saw it more as a role of the audit committee as one of oversight, that the expenses would be approved at the council level, but it would be the audit committee to examine it, and myself as director or the council be able to justify this decision, and that the process of controls were as followed. It is a good point. If it is a concern, but if it is a question that is shared by the council, there is nothing that forces us to pass this evening. We have until April to pass it. The reason why we wanted to present it early is because there is a second policy regarding expenses of the council and the general director that need to be passed. But if you want, we can study more specifically on the signing authorities and come back in January with a recommendation. If you are comfortable with the rest of the policy as it is written, it will not be a big work. And if there is a good reason to put it like that, but the policy was passed or will be passed to the Auditor General, and there is might be a specific reason for that, but it's the first time that I see the audit committee or in that role. So I can verify to see why they are requiring that and to see if it is our policy, if we can change it and make it our policy, but we can play a bit with this.
So there's going to be a lot more documentation. We'll have to fill out some forms. Someone will have to sign the form. We'll just have to be clear that the process works well, not that the council or the CAO is put in a position where he can really do something because he can't find the authorization. So the system needs to be clear. So if you're comfortable with this, we can go with it. But if not, we can move it as the CAO has said and look at it closer. Councillor Camille? I agree that to just push it a little further into the new year. I have a question. It says a CAO or designate. Could you clarify, like, who is there a list of designates, or would we have to make a list, or how? CAO or designate is the person who replaces me in my absence. Normally here it goes, if I go according to the interpretation, it goes a little further in for approving expenses. So it's, in the past it was more just to manage some files, but the employee that replaces me wasn't really there to approve the expenses either, so that's something to look at as well. We'd have to indicate that in my absence, the employee that replaces me, the English term usually is includes full financial signing authority. And in the past, that wasn't it necessarily. If there was needs to communicate with me, but I know that normally the finance director can sign in my absence, but often it's the community development director that worked in my absence because she was more familiar with the projects, the everyday projects. So to sign checks in my absence, the finance director is authorized to do that. So you're all all in agreement to move that to January. Next, we'll go to 11.2, motion to write an STAR regarding road safety concerns and Common Cross Road in Sonyville. I don't know if who had put that on the agenda. This was put forward by Councillor DeVille. I don't know if you want to talk about it or do. So essentially it was following concerns expressed by the residents of Common Cross Road on a small section of the road that crosses a river. There was a culvert there and a guardrail on one side, but there seemed to be missing a guardrail on the other side of the road, and that road is quite narrow. There's not a lot of shoulder, which is common around here, unfortunately. So it was more concern about the road safety for the cars that go by, but also for the people who walk along the street. So simply, they were just asking for NSTIR to do a study to ensure us that it's safe, and if there is a guardrail missing, that they to put one in. So it's just to write a letter to start this evaluation. Did you want to make a motion, Councillor DeVoe? Thank you. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare send a letter to the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal, asking them to complete a study of a section of Common Cross Road in Sonyville due to road safety concerns stemming from the lack of a guardrail. Thank you. Someone who wants to second this? Seconded by Councillor Comeau. Any discussion on the motion? Someone who wants to add something? If no, all in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary? Motion carried. Next, 11.4, motion to appoint a development officer, Hubert Suret. Did you want to? This is simply, once again, a discussion at the council level to appoint Mr. Suret for subdivision planning. There was a need in the community for this. There's a company that does it, Devo Consulting, but we judged it necessary that we have a second person with the capacity to do this as well. Mr. Suret has experience in this field. We checked with a few people who worked with Mr. Suret in the past and who said that he's very capable, that he's a good fit for us. And Mr. Suret, he's recently retired from Property Valuation Services. He expressed interest in doing this, so the discussion, we discussed having him as a development officer for the municipality, and the recommendation from the council at the time was unanimous, so it's simply to make a motion here tonight to formalize the process. Someone who wants to make the motion? Councillor Hill?
To make a motion, I've had some interaction with Hubert, and he's very professional, and he knows his stuff. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare appoint Hubert Suret as Development Officer for the Municipality of the District of Clare in accordance with the provision of the Municipal Government Act, RSNS 1998, Section 18, as specifies Section 191D, which states development officer means a person or persons appointed by a council to administer a land use or subdivision bylaw.
Seconded by Councillor Leblanc. Discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary? Motion adopted. Carried. 11.5, motion to approve a new road name. Chemin des Comotwins Road. It's a motion that, not a motion, it's a request that came following the council committee meeting. From what I can see, there's only 2 residences on the road. It's a private road, and both signaled that they were in agreement with changing the proposed road change, so it would be Comotwins Road in English, Chemin des Comotwins in French. So if it's something that you agree with, we need a motion to go ahead with this. Councillor Patier? I move that the road shared by the properties PID 300-79842, 300-80592, 300-80600, and 300-80535 be officially named as follows. In French, Chemin des Comotwins, in English, Comotwins Road. Someone who wants to second? Seconded by Councillor Thibault. Discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary? Motion carried. 11.6, budget, Congrès Mondial Acadien 2024. Thank you, Mr. Warden. Before going into the budget, I just want to go do a quick overview. The committee meets regularly since several weeks to try to put up the to present our case, which the deadline is January 15th, so the date is coming pretty fast. It's a big work, but the pieces are all falling into place. As you know, we hired the committee with the provincial money and both municipalities hired Martin Tebej to help us with the work, to put the whole thing up together. But it's a big work. It's a teamwork between both municipalities. So for the theme, what we're suggesting is 2024 Nibni Bat Akadi. We are in agreement with this. It's not to say that it can't change, but as part of our what we're presenting is what we're suggesting. The main reason is that we see it as it's inclusive. It touches lots of fields. It opens up a lot of possibilities, and that's something that the Société Nationale de l'Acadie is trying to push. How as society they can be more inclusive, so that aligns well with their mandates and objectives. We had public consultations. We had one in Argyle and one in Clare. There weren't that many people, around 25 in Argyle, 25, and maybe 60, close to 16 in Clare. But there were good comments, and especially the comments that were written. There was good information on there. It gave us good ideas, things to follow. So the committee members are very happy with the quality of the comments and the feedback that we received. We also hired, especially Amy, on social media, with a Facebook page, Instagram, and others. And the comments that we have received have been very positive. We have more than 500 followers on our Facebook page, 600, sorry. And it's going up every day. So that's very encouraging. And today, not today, but we're really pushing from here to January 15th to have some support letters from other municipalities, from private sector especially, and different organizations, community organizations. So that's the work that all the committee is engaged in, to try to go into our networks to try to get those support letters. So we'd like to have that before January 4th if possible, not to wait until the last minute. So as part of the budget, of the request, we have to include the budget. So what you have before us, it's a preliminary budget. Don't worry about the numbers that are in yellow. Those are just notes that I made myself to remember numbers, and I forgot to remove them. So it's not because those numbers are more important than the others necessarily. It's just that I forgot to remove the yellow before sending it to you. So Martin Tebej put the budget as he started comparing with the budget of 2009 and 2019. Just to give us, and Alain, which is the CAO of Argyle, and myself, we sat down to look at the budget, to do a preliminary revision to the budget that we presented to the committee. And they were in agreement. And from there, we deemed it right to speak with, I don't know her title, but the director, if you want, of the Congrès Mondial 2019, Van Madden, and her experience with the Congrès in 2019 and all the other ones, and Daniel Leblanc for the program and logistics. And Daniel is on our committee, and we wanted just to have more information from him based on his experience. So I had that discussion with Vaughn and with Danielle, and both of them really helped out. And so the total budget, following these discussions, hasn't really changed. We still propose a budget of 8.5 million against the budget that was suggested in 2019, which is 2.5 million. And just as information, the budgets here are we always have the ability to change them as we go along. This is a budget. This is the principal goal is just to present this, but for 2019, for example, when they made the request, when they submitted the request to have the Congrès Mondial for 2019, they submitted this budget that was 12.5 million. And fast forward 5 years, and talking with Vaughn, and the event will take place this summer, their budget is now at close to 9 million. So as we go along, by working, by revising, they cut certain things, they cut things that weren't necessary or that were too high, they added a few things. So it's a fluid budget. So the 8.5, it's kind of the same approach that we have here. It's smaller because we're talking of from a much smaller event, 10 days rather than 20 days. But there are fixed costs that no matter how long the event is, you'll still have those costs. But the 8.5, the reason why I tell you this is that it's a preliminary budget that I give you. So it's a preliminary budget we have to submit, but we also know that from here to 2024, if we do have the Congrès, this number will change, and that will be modified and revised. So if we look at the level of the revenues, Government of Canada, 3.5 million. At first we had that higher, but we chose to bring it down to 3.5. And while discussing with Vaughn, she agrees with this. For 2019, there was about 5 million. Up to 9, they have received 3.3 million from the federal. And she thinks that by this summer, Congrès time, they'll have around 3.6 million. So she says 3.5 million is a reasonable amount.
We had good discussions with David Burton, is the Regional Director of Heritage Canada for Atlantic. He cannot offer us a letter of support because he is in a situation where 2 regions of the Atlantic are in competition for the event, so he is in a conflict of interest. But he said that whatever happens, if it is Baie des Chaleurs or Acadie du Sud-Ouest, they will make sure that Heritage Canada will be there with some funding. And if we can contact him for support in the capacity of Clare Argyle and the organizations can welcome a successful event. So he is supporting our efforts. For the provincial government, we asked for 2 million. And that is based again on the discussions with Vaughan. In 2004, the province had contributed 2 million to the World Congress, so it would be in line with their contribution 20 years ago. And the discussions to date, we are still with Mark Bannerman of the Acadian Affairs and Stacey Auctions of Events Nova Scotia, and both of them are supporting our efforts. So there is an opening on their part, and they will support us financially. There is also a letter to the Premier of Nova Scotia asking for a letter of support, and we will receive that letter by January 4th. So there is an opening there. The municipal governments, we put an amount of $500,000, and I will come back on that amount at the end. For sponsorships, we put $600,000, and that was based on the budget from 2019 and 2009. With Vaughan again, I will mention Vaughan often because she really supported our efforts and gave us valuable information. But as part of the Congress for 2019, they approached several sponsors and dressed a list of supporters, and it will be their intention to share that list to help us as part of the financing campaign as a organizing committee to find the financing. And the committee of 2014 did the same thing before 2019. So there was a sharing of information. And it will be to the group to collect that 600,000. The partnership in service in kind, we put 1.5 million. That could be a variety of things, like free offices, computers. It could be somebody from the province who come to work freely for the committee, for example. So we did not have a breakdown of those costs, and it's not really necessary for the Acadian Society, but if we receive the event, we will need to prepare that breakdown for the fundraisers, for the sponsors. So we have not done it yet. And the selling of tickets and products, etc., for $400,000 for a budget of $8.5 million. If we go through the others quickly, salaries and honorariums, these are employees of the Congress, communications, program, the logistics, these are all costs that are based on the events that took place in the past. And I checked with Vaughn and the 2019 team to be realistic on according to their experience, because they are getting at the end of their planning, because the event takes place in 6 months. So she assures me, yes, the honorarium of $100,000, that's an amount we added there. These are for unforeseeables. If we need to check the advice of a lawyer or some accountants or consultation services, we were it was suggested that we put it in case we need it. The traveling and representations, these are for members of the world of the board of directors, and these are based on real costs, especially for representation. The members of the committee will need that whatever region that receives this, they will have to have some funds to take part in other Francophone events in America and France and Louisiana. That takes part of the planification aspect. It's a part of it. Communications and marketing, we put a big amount, especially in advertising and social media, promotional material. We want to be conservative in these figures as much as possible. We'd rather put more than enough. If we live below these costs, and we hope it will be the case, it's not a problem. But we wanted to make sure that we put enough to cover the expenses. The public relations and promotion in media, this is all communications and promotion of the Congress. And the archives, once everything is done, we need to put the different photos and videos and promotional items in archives. I should have mentioned earlier also the Acadian Society, and it's a recommendation of Heritage Canada. It must be more than a celebration. It should not be a big party. There should be more. Not that it's not good, but we need more value than that. So as part of the CMA, there are the family reunions, which are a success, but there is an academic aspect to it, and this aligns well with the fact that we have Université Sainte-Anne with campuses in both regions, and that plays in our favor. There is also the aspect of the youth meetings, how to create an environment with the youth. There will be a big conference that aims the participation of, and it will be part of the program, an important part of the program. And also the themes, the green economy, the language, etc. And these are all mentioned on the second page. For the administration cost and management, to rent halls and offices, and these can be part of on the second page, we go in the logistics and programming. So really the big items here is really the big items of the Congress itself, is the opening, the celebration of August the 15th, and the closure. We put $450,000 for each. And talking with Vaughn and with Danielle LeBlanc, especially with Danielle, with his experience of establishing such concerts, they tell us that it is a reasonable amount, and it makes more sense at the planning level. But what we would like to see is to have the opening in Argonne and have the celebration of August the 15th here and the closing on the 15th here on the 17th. And the event for the youths will be held also in Argyle. But it makes more sense when to set up the stages and the tents and everything. If we're here on the 15th, it makes sense to just keep it here for the 17th. It is a lot of money, and we do not want to spend more than necessary. If we look at the popular space, this is a small presentations in the communities. If you look at the Acadian Festival, for example, there's always a bazaar at the arena with different kiosks and different things with music and food. You can buy souvenirs, etc. And this would be something like that. What we want to do is to learn from what the others have done. And 2014, they went big with the common spaces. They had a big stage and they planned for 10,000 people, but they had a few hundred people. So that was lost. So in 2019, they wanted to avoid a similar situation. So they went with a lot of smaller scenes, which is easier to reinstall, and they went to different areas of the region. So the intention for 2020, if we have the Congress, is to follow a bit what 2019 is doing and to have different scenes in Clare and the same thing in Argyle, instead of having a big stage that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. The family reunions, we have an amount for that. The development, that is something, if you look at 2019, they had put 1.65 million. They cut that, they almost eliminated all that, and they kept 400,000. What happened in the past was a big amount in the budget for that, and they started receiving requests for funds from community development for grants from the World Acadian Congress. Their opinion is that those projects should be funded apart, and it is not from the to sponsor those. So they reduced it to what we budgeted to have access to expertise and community development, and also keep a small amount of money if they want to support strategic projects, but not big amounts for infrastructures. The dignitary welcoming. In 2019, there was none. I changed the category. The 500,000 that was there was for the arts, not the dignitaries. And they eliminated it completely. But what Vaughn told me, she said that I suggest you to have an item in the budget to welcome dignitaries, especially political dignitary, to establish a banquet quickly, for example, keep some money for the protocols because it could cost for something of quality. So we put in 225,000. It's not to say that it will cost that, but it's planned. The youth meetings is part of the Congress. We put 375,000 there. The rest is more the academic that the SNA is asking us to do it, and we will be evaluated on that. So we are leaning a lot on SATOwn. There's nothing for the economic aspect. We added $125,000 there because we judged it is something that the sponsors will be interested in seeing, and I think it is important for us also. You see in the other themes, multimedia, economical, active living in sports, immersion, genealogy. These are all things that we want to look at also, and the intergenerational aspect and the forums and conferences. So all that brings us to a budget in expenses of $8,000,000, and to minimize the risk in the future, we put in a contingency of $425,000. So here, what we are presenting is a budget of 8.5 million. And if we remove the contingents of 425, you are at 8.1. And then 1.5 in nature, which brings us to 6.6 million. So like I said, we budgeted in a conservative way according to the discussion I had with others in that field. And we think that inside that 6.6 million, we can maneuver and adjust as we go. And what will happen, the 8.5 million, if we receive the Congress and we go forward, it's not divided equally. In the first year, you have a few expenses, and as you go, the expenses go up year after year until the Congress in 2024.
So if we come back to the section income, so for the municipality, we put a $500,000 contribution. The way that we had positioned this is that, based on the discussions, preliminaries with both councils, is that we would look at the possibility to have a contribution of $250,000 from Clare and a contribution of $250,000 from Argyle. In our request to the SNA, we'll have to show that we have some funds confirmed. We don't have control on federal funds. We're working on provincial funds, but we won't have an answer before January 15th. So where we can have some control at the level. So what we're proposing is to have up to $250,000 from Clare and up to $250,000 from Argyle. In our case, my recommendation would be to divide it on 5 years so that it's not one big amount away, and that we also understand that during this period, we see that we've received monetary contributions from other municipalities, that those contributions would reduce our contribution, Clare's contribution, and Argyle's contribution as well. So in reality, we would pass a motion to go up to $250,000, but there's a chance that that amount would be lowered to $200,000, for example, depending on if we received funds from other municipalities. So that's pretty much the budget that we will be presenting. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I will do my answer them. As I said, it's a budget that's fluid and that will change. We're talking about an event that will take place in 5 years if we have it, so there will be some changes. If not, if there are no questions, because January 15th is coming pretty fast and we need an answer from both councils if you guys are comfortable, I would ask for you to present a motion to approve the $250,000 contribution for the Congress as spread on 5 years, so that we can include it in our request. Are there any questions? I think, to be very clear, it's up to. So I would like to see a lot of the municipalities in the area contribute in a way or another if they feel that it's an important event. By looking at the other budgets, it says other governments. Is that other funds, are those other funds coming from other departments, or? I think it's more like First Nations and things like that. That's all I can see. Or governments, we can play with language a little bit in the different categories. It could also be other municipalities that contributed I'm not really sure how they made the distinction between all the different federal, provincial, municipal, and others. So I know in 2019 they approached first and discussed with them, and I think some money came in from that group in 2019 as a result from those discussions. So 2019, maybe that was part of the 175, but I'm not sure. For the 2019, that will take place in PI and south of New Brunswick. That's like the province of the island. I don't know what the population is of PI and New Brunswick, but it's kind of like the Congress was spread out in the entire province. It was a big population. Here, Clare Argyle, it's 8,000 in Clare and maybe 8,000 in Argyle. If we compare the activities for 2019 in PI compared to the population there, compared to the population here, you would think that the budget would be a lot smaller. Does it make sense, or how can we compare? There are fixed costs. We can things, but the opening, for example, the opening ceremonies or the closing ceremonies, there will be infrastructure costs to put up the stages and everything. So it'll be similar, because you want nice shows, good shows, that it's the Congramo. But at the level of the COCMA or the organizing committee, you need the executive. You have the same number of positions regardless of the region where the Congress will take place, and there's the same steps for the promotion. You need to be seen at different events, whether it be in Louisiana or France, in the Atlantic, in Quebec, Ontario, Quebec, etc. So there are, for staffing also, there's someone responsible for finances, for finance campaign, director general, program. So administration-wise, there's still a lot of the same expenses. Of course, there's some places that we can cut, and we did cut some places, and I have the impression that I'm confident that, I can't guarantee, but I feel confident enough that this budget will, as the time and as the work progresses towards the event, that these numbers will be revised and that they will probably be lowered. For example, telephone and communication, whether it be nature or not. We put 125,000. In 2019, they put 200,000. They did not spend 200,000. Far from that, they told us. I can't even see how we're going to spend 125,000, but we wanted to be conservative, so we put something that we thought that we knew we could work with. Do I think it's going to be 125,000? I think we can do better than that, and that'll be lower. But we didn't want to be too low and then be stuck in a situation where our budget is too tight and that we can't move. It's certain that there is a risk, regardless of there's always a risk when at the federal level, provincial level, they give us 3 million, 2.5. No, discussions up until now have been positive, but we have time to adjust as we go forward. This is what we are submitting to the SNA. So once funds get confirmed, we'll be able to adjust accordingly. Councillor DeVoe. On the second page, almost at the end of the second page, there's the environmental green ecological. Could you explain a little bit more what this is? We added this because I went to the annual general SNA earlier this year in Moncton, and as part of their General Assembly, they were looking at what can we do to be more exclusive, what are our objectives or what we'd like to pursue in the future as a society. And this was one, it was, well, what we can do to be more, we talk about how to be more, to promote renewable energy, green economy, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something that I think as an organization, they will lean towards more and more. So, and if you look at today with St. Anne's, that a green university, that aligns well with the university. If we want to attract youth, the millennials and the generation today is a lot more conscientious of what's environmental. So, at an academic level, that it would be very interesting that we could pursue that aligns well with Seton and the expertise that they have there, the SNA priorities and the priorities of today's youth. That's a demographic group that we really want to target with this Congress. So this won't be that we'll just talk about this during the Congress. It'll be something that they want to continue. Is that it? After the Congress? All this money here will be for during the Congress. Well, all the last page, all the volets, they're all academic, conferences and other functions during the Congress that will take place during the Congress. Maybe some things will follow as afterwards, but all this money to build up and to create the programs that will take place during the Congress. Other questions? So the decision from the council, we could make the motion tonight. If not, we'll have to make a special from the council before what's the deadline? The deadline to submit officially to the SNA is January 15th. So, but our committee, in order to finalize the document, we don't want to wait to the last minute. So we'll work on it during the holidays, and we're going to meet early January to try to make the final revision of the complete revision of the document to make sure it's ready to submit. So really, the earliest possible helps us, and I think it sends an important message to the community to continue in our planning, essentially. So I don't know what you guys want. Do you want to address it tonight or make a special meeting? In one way or another, it has to be done pretty quickly. So, Councillor Thibault, did you have your mic? I think we have to do it tonight, and I'm ready to do the motion if we're ready. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare approve a contribution of up to $250 spread over 5 years for the Congrès Mondial Acadien 2024. Seconded by Councillor DeVoe. So we have a motion on the table. It's it's your chance. It's a chance for debate. I think for me the key points are up to, and I feel comfortable enough that if the provincial and federal give us less, then the budget will be changed. So to reflect that. So I don't think that if the province give 1.5 million and the municipalities are not going to put another 500,000, we're going to readjust. But in reality, and it's something that the fact that they put 2 million in 2004, 2 million in 2024, it's less essentially. So we're asking for less money really in 2024 in real dollars. Is there discussion on the motion, or are you the vote? Ready for the question? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary? Motion carried.
It's ready. We'll go on to 7, contractual negotiations for internet, rural internet. You can start. As you know, all the dossier of internet is a priority for the residents and of the council, since we are working closely with the municipality of the County of Annapolis regarding this dossier. We made an invitation to suppliers of internet services providers. Earlier this year, we had some tenders, and there's one was chosen, and we started our discussion with them. Annapolis is also dealing with mainland, and we are working closely with them, but we recognized also that Annapolis started earlier than us, a lot of work in the development of this project, and specifically in their negotiations with mainland and the preparation of the contract, or essentially two contracts with mainland, and all the clauses that are included. Contract, it cost them, just the preparation of the contract wasn't an easy exercise. It cost about $100,000, and it took a better part of a year and a half, if not more, and closer to two. So it's not an easy exercise. The model that we use here in Clare is essentially identical to the one in Annapolis that they are going forward with, except that it is certain that our population and geography are different, but the model is identical, and the provider would be mainland. But the discussions with mainland was to recognize all the work that they put and to save us from repeating all that work and try to go forward in our efforts. So we approached them to see if it would be possible to purchase to that contract. By respect for all the work that they did, we would be ready to offer an amount to have access to that work. Following that discussion, we have a good relation with Annapolis, and they were open to this, and mainland also. And from there, they came back with a price, $20,000. $20,000, $10,000 for Annapolis, and $10,000 for mainland. So ourselves, the warden and myself, in our discussions, we saw this as a great value for the money. It is a good exchange for us, especially at the level of how much it will save us in legal costs and time here internally. The Annapolis spent over 18 months in negotiating this contract. So that being said, and considering all that, what we are looking here this evening is for a formal motion from the council to contribution of $20,000 divided equally between mainland and Annapolis County to have access to that contract and the details of that contract to go forward with our project. Well explained. Good job. So more or less, I think he said it all. So it is, I saw that as a partnership between us and Annapolis. If the council makes a motion to purchase access to their documents, and they are ready to help us in our project, and that's worth a lot. They have the experience since 2 years. But this is for the public. This would be the beginning. We would have access to the documents, to their advice, and the council, I think, in the next steps would be to go to the public and explain the project and make sure that there is a big request from the public to enter the project. It's complicated, but it will be worthwhile to do. But the first step this evening is to prove the documents. So we need a motion from the council to go forward with this. Councillor LeBlanc? I think it is a good value for the money. It's a no-brainer, and I would like to move that the municipality of the District of Clare grant $20,000 for the purchase of the contract between mainland and Annapolis. Yes, I said 20,000. Seconded by Councillor Poitier.
Win-win situation. We get it for 20% of the cost, we're saving about 2 years, get all their expertise, and, you know, they're more than willing to help us. And the internet is so important in Clare. I think this is a really good start.
No qualm saying that the model that I think they've developed is a model that most rural municipalities eventually will follow, because broadband, high-speed internet in rural municipalities is not easy to deliver, and I think that model is the one model, the meetings and all the presentations, that actually can deliver that for rural Nova Scotia. So, conseil sous-préfet.
Deputy Warden, that's what I wanted to say. It's the model for rural areas like ourselves in Canada, I think. So we have a motion on the floor. Any more discussion on the motion? Councillor DeVoe? Thank you. Just a small point after the meeting, I felt a lot more comfortable that we are not in with our neighbor. We will work together, and I think it's really a good thing, and it will work well. Thank you. Councillor Comeau, I have a question. Are you ready for the vote? Indicate by saying yes. Contrary, no. Motion is carried. Councillor Comeau? I know there is no deadline for the installation on the infrastructure for cable, but the next steps, it could be a public meeting. That could happen when? I would like to see this in January, if it's possible, before the end of January, to be able to start the process. But as for deadlines, it's a difficult question, because if they start in Annapolis, they could start here at the same time, but they need to bring the fiber to Clare first of all to start, and that will be the challenge. I understand that, but the reason why I'm asking is for the public meeting, there is a lot of people who are interested in high-speed internet. It would be an opportunity to answer a lot of questions for the public. For the public, if they are interested to see what we are trying to do, the project, if they do a bit of research on the Annapolis project, which is a lot more advanced than ours, it will give them a good on what we plan to do here. Just a reminder for your point, there will be a press release that will come out. I know I've mentioned it a few times, but following the discussions in Annapolis, press release together the two municipalities to talk about the project as a whole, and that it is a partnership. And I think it will arrive early in January, and the public consultations, we will mention the consultation in that press release, and we hope later in the month. But Annapolis was also offered to help us with our community consultations. For the different dates, we would have to consult with them to see when they are available, and possibly with mainland also. If not, we will go on to a session in camera. For the people who are listening to the meeting, we have one item in camera, and it is 12.1. The sale of municipal Echo Park is the only item we have in camera, and saying that, we need a motion to go in camera. Moved by Deputy Warden Doucet, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary, no. Motion is carried. Good evening, everyone.
Bon,